So with all of the drivers, all 34 of these senior drivers making it to the grid, we just fade down Ram Jam and Black Betty and reflect on the next race. The next race, the senior final, over 16 laps. Some of the world's best drivers, most of the world's best drivers, and we're going to have a quick peep at who they are. Starting on pole position, it's Harry Webb. Harry Webb from the United Kingdom, driving for Strawberry Racing. Joining him on the front row from the Netherlands, it's Max Verstappen. Row 2, Charlie Eastwood, the Irishman. Philip Moran of Sweden on the second row with Charlie. Nicholas Tihonen, the Finnish driver, and the Aussie from down under, Pierce Lehane, making the third row for the final. Just having a quick word with DHR teammate Philip Moran. It's an all-British row 4 with Ed Brand, the Englishman, and Kyle Fowley, the Scotsman. Row 5, Karol Dabski of Poland and Bas de Laat of Netherlands completing the top 10. On row 6, the ever-smiling Joey van Splunteren. Just having a word there with Karol Dabski. Joey will share row 6 with Martin Henkel Mortensen, the tall Dane. Xavier Pozzoli, the Frenchman, on row 7, alongside Eugene Denesen of South Africa. Maxi Weinzierl from Austria shares row 8 with Glenn van Parijs. Glenn is from Belgium. Row 9, Jan Jonk the Dane, getting to row 9 via the last chance race this morning. Shares that with the Brit Charlie Turner. And row 10, Ludwig Morin of Sweden, Sam Shippers of Netherlands complete the top 20. Outside the top 20, Jules Cousin of France and Randy Bergles of Switzerland. Row 12, Michael Kool of Belgium, Connor Jupp of the United Kingdom. And I may be bringing you news of a potential non-starter. Brian Aerden of Netherlands will share row 13 with Tobias Holm, the German. From Estonia, Stendorian Pirimarji will take the inside of row 14 with Luke Varley from the United Kingdom on the outside. Another Brit, this time Oliver Myers, will be on row 15 with Swiss driver Nikolai Rogivu. Nikolai in cart number 308. He completes the top 30. And then the unlucky guys, and I have to say this so many times of one or two of these drivers, but that is the way it goes. Ollie was unlucky. Nikolai was. Row 16, the very unlucky Antoine Bouton of France, and Yuri Foreman, a front runner throughout the heats and the preliminaries on row 16. And the grid completed by the hard battling Peter Betzel of the Czech Republic, and he will be alongside Kenny Vermeulen. Kenny Vermeulen in cart 253 is from Belgium. We're coming up to 5 minutes before the start of this one. And where would your bet go if you were a betting person? Well, let me just tell you a little bit about the guys. Not sure if Chris has got some news. Yes, it is 253. Kenny Vermeulen of Belgium will be a non-starter. He would have been starting on the 34th position on the back row in the 17th row. So whilst it is a disappointment for Kenny, it's not quite the same as one of the front runners not able to take the start.
We've had a good luck message from all the way back in Scotland from Faye Fowley. Good luck to Kyle Fowley from Faye Fowley and all the family back in Aberdeenshire and in Jersey. Good luck to Kyle. He's going to start from 8th on the grid. We might be able to get Sarah to grab a word with Kyle on his first full season of European competition. Ken and I have been very impressed with him over the course of the last 2 days. He had to fight his way through from something like 21st on the grid in his heats. He did a terrific job. He came through, finished in and around the top 6 in all of his races despite lowly grids in the wet conditions, and has done very well to qualify in the top 10 for this final. 8th on the grid, Kyle will start. So a good luck message there to Kyle. Hopefully he can hear us over the tannoys here at the circuit. Anyway, down on the grid we have got our roving reporter with the radio mic, Sarah Dryhurst, and she is ready now to speak to some drivers. Sarah, let's hear from you on the grid.
Well, yes, as you just said, I'm here with Kyle Fowley, who's come from a long way back, and you've made it up to Earth, 8th place. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, it was good. We had a good pre-final, found some pace in the drive, which was the main thing.
Now it's going to be a bit of a fight out there. Where are you aiming to get?
I don't know, just got to make the most of it.
And take it from there. Best of luck to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks, Sarah, and thanks, Kyle. And here's a little conundrum, guys. Starting on row 14 in cart number 279 is the former world number 1, Luke Varley. Guess what it says on the back of the race suit of Kyle Fowley? Well, let me tell you something. We've had this before. Harrison Scott has raced in Luke Varley's old race suit, and he's won and been runner-up in events with Luke Varley's old race suit. So there you go, Kyle. You can call that a lucky omen. Luke Varley, of course, would be rather starting where you are, Kyle, on row 4, rather than back in row 14. Well, we're coming up to 3 minutes, and the 3 minutes hooter when it sounds will clear the grid. But we'll try and get another little chat with one of the drivers down on the front.
Yeah, Jos Verstappen, famous Formula 1 driver. His son Max is second on the grid.
Well, I'm here with Max Verstappen. Max, now you're not doing the full season, but you're doing very well, certainly with it. You're on second. You're going to be pushing for that first place, pushing hard on Harry, aren't you?
Of course. The speed is there, so we will see in the final.
You excited for the rest of the race to come up then?
Sure.
Best of luck to you, Max.
Thanks, Max. Really appreciate you just giving us those few words, and thank you to Sarah for your sterling work down on the grid. Well, the guys that were taking a little bit of shade before they started, the likes of Charlie Eastwood and Harry Webb, the pole sitter, now getting their race suits pulled right up. Doubt that they're going to want to have an in-depth chat with Sarah, although she can be a very persistent lady, Chris.
She can, and she's got Harry Webb speaking to her now. Harry on pole.
Well, I'm here with Harry Webb, who's on first. A lot of people are going to be chasing after you.
Yeah, obviously we need to make a clean start and get away nicely and see how the race pans out.
Best of luck to you. All the whistles gone. We just wanted to speak to you very quickly. Best of luck. It's going to be quite difficult out there, but your aims?
To win.
Perfect. Keep it on pole and make it sure you stay out there. Cheers, Harry. Best of luck.
Of course, he's going to go for it. Going to go for the win. Harry Webb, second in the championship behind his teammate Charlie Eastwood. He's brought the gap down to 6 points because he scored 34 points for winning the pre-final, did Harry Webb, whereas Charlie, like he did actually in Belgium, finished third in the pre-final and only picked up 32. So the gap between the top two in the championship after the earlier race down to 6 points. Eastwood on 119, Webb on 113 points. And Harry won the pre-final, but then didn't go on to follow that up with a victory in the final in Belgium. He finished on the fringes of the top 10, but he was well away from a podium. So he'll look to win the big one now. This is one where they get more points, where they get the trophies, of course, and where they get all the plaudits for winning this one rather than the pre-final. Philip Moran, who started the pre-final on pole position, he's going to be on the second row of the grid. He's going to be starting fourth, right behind Max Verstappen, who you heard from there. Philip, we heard from him speaking to Sarah at the end of the pre-final. He was a bit disappointed with fourth, having won all his heats yesterday in the wet and having started on pole position, but he knew that the kart wasn't quite there. Understood, he felt what the problem was, and the team, I think, have made a few tweaks to the kart. And Philip Moran, who races for Dan Holland Racing, the blue and yellow colours with the Alonso kart, will still be a threat here, still be looking to get on the podium and maybe even a win for the tall Swedish driver. So he's third in the championship now on 101 points. We heard from Kyle Fowley, just a note on Kyle, in that because he was ill and had to miss the pre-final, despite qualifying very well for it, he had to miss the pre-final in Belgium and lost a lot of points there. He only came into this weekend 17th in the championship. However, he's already moved up now to 9th in the championship. So Kyle Fowley rocketing up the championship ladder. Karts then being released out onto the circuit in full race prep, ready for the final race of the day. The seniors, going to be another 16-lap race, 2 more formation laps for them, and this is going to be a great way to round out the weekend, Ken.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've said this previously, but I'm telling the truth. I'm looking forward to this immensely. You just get the feeling that we're in for another really, really good race, don't you? When we say who's going to win this one, well, there's an argument that Harry Webb's going to win it easily from pole. There's an argument that Charlie Eastwood, the world number 1, will come through and win it. What about Max Verstappen in this one-off appearance in the Rotax Euro Challenge? Well capable, and the gentleman you've just been talking about, Philip Moran, easily capable of coming through. But That ignores Pierce Lehane, it ignores Ed Brand, it ignores Nicky Tihonen, it ignores Kyle Fowley. The bottom line is this is going to be 16 laps of wonderful racing. I just hope they all make it safely through the first complex and especially turn 1. Keep an eye at the back for some of these good drivers trying to make forward progress. Peter Betzel was a revelation in the wet yesterday. Got to do it from stone last today and in the dry. Luke Varley, a former world #1 at this level, won't be satisfied with a finishing position where he started, 28th, so look for kart 279 coming forward. And as I say, those guys immediately behind the front runners are just, another half dozen of other potential good finishers. Martin Henkel Mortensen. Chris Hartley's mentioned several times how much he and I were impressed with him in round 1 at Genk. Joey van Splunteren, he urges me to feel that it's not going to be his day because he is struggling in the bigger picture of things, but he's found some form now. And Karol Dabski, so often the fastest guy in qualifying, so often finding that he's at the front, but just finding it elusive to get that race victory, certainly to get that final race victory. A little bit further back, we've seen Glenn Van Paris charge through the field earlier in the meeting. Could he do it again, perhaps towards the podium? Going a little bit further back, Jan Jonk and Ludwig Morin have also had their moments. There's plenty of subplots in this, and Connor Jupp, who had to start all his heats from last, well, he starts this one on row 12. To call the first couple of laps of the race, your commentator, my colleague, Chris Hartley.
Harry Webb then leads them around the final corner, ready for the rolling start. 34 karts all out there. 76 came here in total. The top 34 have made it through. There's been a bit of shunting and barging in the middle of the field, so it's going to be a rolling start reviewed. They're going to have to go round again because there were 2 or 3 karts from about the 6th or 7th row of the grid that actually ran into each other before they actually got to the start-finish line there. The eagle-eyed officials on the start line spotted it, and so that is why they've been sent back around again. So they were running into each other before they started the race there, which is a new trick.
A point you made earlier, Chris, not earlier today, earlier in the meeting. It's the eagle eye that spotted that aborted the start, but then the technology coming into their aid. The cameras will pick up every move of every driver from every angle at the start. But we try again.
That's right. There are, in race control, there are 20 cameras on the circuit, all being watched by the team, by the stewards, and if anything goes on that needs to be investigated, they have all sorts of camera angles that they can then review, replay, and double check. So it's a system which is coming for this year, which worked very effectively in Belgium. And because the drivers know that those things are out there and are being watched all the time, they know they can get away with a lot less than maybe they could have in years gone by. So it's part of the reason why the driving standards have been, to be fair, very good so far this weekend by and large.
Good point, Chris. We really haven't seen that many warning flags, have we? The bad old days in this series of 4 or 5 years ago, we really got as many as we've seen in this whole meeting in just one day's racing. I endorse what you say there.
So let's see if we can get away cleanly this time. Nothing to do with the front runners there. It was what went on almost in the middle of the pack that caused the start to be aborted. They're properly bunched up now. Harry Webb was in the fight for a win in Belgium in the early stages, having started that race in pole position. But as I say, he fell away in the end, dropped down the order, and was nowhere near a podium finish. While he did pick up good points, he'll be looking for that big trophy for the win here. Right, he leads them around. Everybody's a bit cleaner this time. Harry Webb jumps up in the seat to lift his weight off the rear axles. The race gets underway, and he leads the charge down towards turn 1, but Max Verstappen is trying to get around the outside of him. They're side by side. Harry Webb's got the inside for turn 3. The right hand out, he's done it. Webb holds the lead of the race. Verstappen is second. Philip Moran has got ahead of Charlie Eastwood for 3rd and 4th positions respectively, and Nicky Tihonen, he's leading the next group of karts in 5th position, but Charlie Eastwood is keen to get back up into the top 3. He's glued himself to the tail of the Swede. Philip Moran in the blue race suit can't find a way through at the end of the back straight. I wonder if he'll have a chance on the way into the next corner at turn 10. I think he's done it. Yes, he's done it. We didn't see it on camera.
Certainly
but
has. Got through on the inside, Chris. Eased through on the inside. Prized open the gap.
Yeah, there are more moves out of that corner at the end of the back straight than on the way into it, aren't there?
but Philip fighting back strongly on the inside. Oh, it was a big gamble by Philip Moran. It very nearly came. Oh,
contact.
And going off the circuit is car number 2. Charlie Eastwood.
He got a whack from Verstappen. He got hit by Verstappen on the way into the penultimate corner. So contact between the pair of them. And Eastwood came off worst, and he's the one that ended up on the grass. So where's he dropped down to? 7th. No, 8th place he's dropped down to, Charlie Eastwood. But he did well to recover it and hang on to the kart.
All he lost, actually, Chris, was these positions he gained on the lap. So not such a disaster for Charlie, although he will feel peeved.
Well, 3rd on the grid, 8th at the end of that one. He won't be very well pleased with that. Webb leads then. Verstappen 2nd. Moran is in 3rd place, the Swedish driver. He's dropped back, hasn't he? Well, they come through the hairpin. I reckon he's down to 5th place. Tihonen and Ed Brand have gone through. Ed Brand is, I think, now in 4th place, isn't he? So Ed Brand charging through. He had 3 good heats and 1 bad heat yesterday, which is why he started the pre-final way down in 21st. He came from 21st to 7th in kart 202, and he's looking for a move now on the way into the first corner, and he's got it the inside into 3rd place. You didn't see it on the cameras, but Ed Brand has gone through to 3rd at turn 1. Great drive that to get ahead of Nicky Tihonen, who's bumped back down to 4th place. Then it's the 206 kart of Philip Moran. You got Pierce Lehane just behind him with a bright yellow helmet, and Pierce Lehane has got a good run now onto the tail of Pierce Lehane. Pierce Lehane breaks super late, but he can't quite get ahead of Philip Moran, who also breaks very late indeed. And so therefore no change for 5th and 6th positions. Eastwood has got 1 back though, and he's now up to 7th place, Ken.
Yeah, and Martin Henkel Mortensen having a good race, and so that was well worked by Charlie Eastwood. Kyle Fowley gaining a place to 9th, and Karol Dabski completing the top 10. But look at these two at the top peeling away, and I would say Harry Webb's lead of 0.35 has been reduced significantly, well, down to 0.21. So the evidence of the naked eye and the evidence of the transponders is that Max Verstappen is getting closer to race leader Harry Webb. This is lap 4 of a 16-lap senior final. We've got the CRG factory driver, Max Verstappen, trailing the strawberry racer Harry Webb by, well, it was 0.2 of a second at the end of that previous lap, the end of lap 3, and on lap 4 I'm just rather anticipating that we're going to see some action here. They're well clear of the rest of the field, led I think by Nicky Tihonen. Can't be certain as I look down on the screen. If not Nicky, it's Ed. No, it is Ed Brand, isn't it? He went through within your commentary, Chris.
Well, they swapped again, actually. Tihonen did at the start of the lap or at the end of the previous lap, get back ahead of Ed Brand for 3rd place, but Ed's got his elbows out and got back ahead of that little battle. So Ed Brand with the red orange colour scheme back through to 3rd place. There he goes through the camera shot. Nicky Tihonen right on his tail, and then you got Pierce Lehane, the Australian, who's travelled all the way across the world to be here this weekend, also in the top 6, and Martin Henkel Mortensen, who was the star of Belgium, coming from the back up to, was he 4th place in the end, the Danish driver in kart 276. He's now got back ahead of Charlie Eastwood, back to 7th.
Minor error by Max Verstappen, minor indeed, but it's lost him a lot of lengths. I reckon it's lost him 4 kart lengths. He was just 0.17 of a second behind Harry Webb, and I would say now that would be 5 kart lengths between Harry Webb, the race leader, coming down towards us. The biggest gap between them as they come round to complete another lap. Harry Webb's 1.17 of a second advantage increases to 0.5 of a second. So Max Verstappen, who was capable, and Chris.
Pierce Lehane's just dived down the inside to get 4th place away from Nicky Tihonen. Great move that. Got a great run onto the start-finish straight. And so Pierce Lehane up to 4th place now. And he needed to do that because Ed Brand, look, Ken, he's already getting away from the group.
It just makes you wonder what Ed might have done had he not had those adversities. I mean, 1 non-finish in, well, he came out to do about 1 lap at the end of a race in the heats, didn't he? And Ed so very nearly, oh, I don't want to say this, the nearly man. He's capable of winning every championship he goes in, including the Rotax Worlds. But he's been on podiums, but not quite got the win. In this series, he is the runner-up in the defending number 2, if you like, but doesn't quite get the victory. Could this be his year? Well, at the moment, he's 2.7 seconds behind Harry Webb. You're pointing something, Chris.
Something went on over on the far side of the circuit, and when Pierce got to 4th place at the start of that, right in front of us, he's now dropped a long way back from Nicky Tihonen, who's back to 4th place, and Martin Henkel Mortensen has just got ahead of him, and Charlie Eastwood also going through, and Philip Moran. So Pierce Lehane has lost a bunch of places in the last half a lap or so. So Martin Henkelson now, I think he's up into what would be 5th place.
Yeah, at the expense of Philip Moran, who may have dropped more than 1 position on that. Well, Charlie Eastwood, it is, don't want to go back and dwell on it, but it's so unfortunate that we had that early incident that took him across the grass. Charlie very sensible in just getting in where he could as opposed to crashing out in the front, but it's made him a very, very steep hill to climb. This is the start of lap 8 of a 16-lap final, and Jos Verstappen's son Max has pulled down the half a second advantage of Harry Webb to 0.38 of a second, but doesn't look quite as threatening as he did 3 or 4 laps ago. Comfortable third place for Ed Brand as things stand at the moment. Nicky Tihonen fourth, Martin Henkel Mortensen completing the top 5.
But is Max Verstappen playing a waiting game? It's quite early to go for the lead, isn't it? 7 laps of 16 complete. We're only just about to come to the half distance. He's certainly shadowing Harry Webb. Question is Max driving absolutely on the ragged edge just to keep up with Harry, or has he got something in hand here and he's waiting for later in the race to go through? As soon as he
he's a lot closer now, Chris, so maybe your hypothesis is being borne out.
Maybe. He's a lot closer, as you say, with a 49.991 second lap. Fastest lap of the race, first driver into the 49s. He did that in the pre-final as well. And so he's brought the gap down by 0.2 of a second. It's almost nothing now, just a car length between them. I was making the point that Max might not want to lead with 4 or 5 laps ago, because then Harry Webb will be targeting him. He'll become the target. So maybe he's sitting there and waiting for the last lap or 2 before he makes his move. Dropping a long way behind them in third place now, losing 0.4 on that lap is Ed Brand, but Ed is looking comfortable at the moment for the final spot on the podium. Nicky Tihonen having a really good weekend though in 4th place, the Finnish driver, and then Henkel Mortensen 5th for Denmark. Philip Moran, the Swedish driver, 6th. Charlie Eastwood 7th. Piers Lane 8th. Carl Farley is 9th, and then Baz de Laat runs in 10th place. It's very close between the top 2 as they now go across the start finish line on the way into turn 1, but still Verstappen shadowing Webb rather than really trying to get alongside him.
Yeah, Max Verstappen could well be playing the strategy here, because the one little thing that comes to me, Chris, is that Max looks comfortable in what he's doing. There's no ragged edge 10/10 and more driving, and even though he looks to be driving not so much within himself but in a contained drive, still holding on to Harry Webb, not losing more than a length and a half maximum. Viewers online can see them at the bottom of the screen. It's Harry Webb moving away from us in the lead, sweeping round on the left-hander. Out of that hairpin, Harry Webb's advantage, it was down to 0.18 of a second. I don't think it's any less than that now, but Max Verstappen well in touch. This is the start of lap 10 of the senior final. 0.26 of a second now for Harry Webb. So Harry certainly, if you like, fought back a little bit from Max Verstappen's charge through. And with Chris just looking down the line, let me stay with these front-running 2. Chris, I don't see a move from Max here at the moment. He's not quite close enough to make a challenge down on the exit from the back straight. Lap 11.
Charlie Eastwood has got a queue of 6 carts queued up behind him. He's 7th, but he's having to be a very wide 7th because Piers Lane right on his tail. Kyle Farley in 9th place is there as well. So they're all trying to get ahead of Charlie, but Charlie, he's not going to be easy to pass. He's the last of the late breakers. The top 2 then coming back towards this sequence of corners. You see the left, right, the S section at the end of the lap. Through come the 2 leaders. Then you can see how close it is between Webb, the British driver, last year's junior champion, and Verstappen into the first corner. Go the top 2. There is Ed Brand crossing the line in 3rd place, but 3.5 seconds behind them. 4th is Nicky Tihonen. 5th is the Dane Henkel Mortensen, and 6th is Moran, and Lehane has got ahead now of Charlie Eastwood. So Lehane up to 7th place, back up to 7th place. Charlie Eastwood pushed back to 8th position. Baz de Laat has gained a place as well. Looks like he's moved ahead of Carl Farley at the start of that lap. And a word for Jan Jonk, who was in the second chance final this morning, wasn't he? He won that. So he's had to come from near the back. He's had to come from 28th on the grid in the pre-final. He's up to 12th place. So Jan Jonk, a good effort by him. We've had 11.5 laps of the race complete. The top 2 continue to run almost nose to tail. Verstappen, I think you quite rightly said, Ken, looks to be fairly comfortable there, hanging on to the tail of Webb. Webb, though, has not put a wheel wrong yet, despite all this pressure.
12 laps gone and 4 to go. We're at the 3/4 race distance, so we move into the final quarter of the senior final. Harry Webb has the advantage. He's over a 1/4 of a second in front of Max Verstappen, but Chris Hartley and myself both feeling that Max Verstappen may have a card to play late in the race in this final quarter. But I endorse what Chris has said. Harry Webb, to my recollection, not having put a wheel wrong, certainly not seriously put a wheel wrong in this entire final. 12 and a half laps having been raced so far. But Max Verstappen, as our television screen shows, getting closer, definitely increasing the heat on the Brit. But Harry Webb showing an unruffled demeanour, sweeping round to the start-finish line to set off on lap 14. 2 to go. Lap 14, 3 to go. This is the start of lap 14 of a 16-lap final, so 3 to go. And staying with the front runners, Harry Webb, well, Max Verstappen, it does look now as if a potential challenge might have been coming, but on that back straight, Chris, Harry does seem to have the legs.
And how about Philip Moran for the second weekend running? He's been superb in the heats, but it doesn't look like he's going to get onto the podium despite the fact that he started the pre-final from pole. He slipped from first to fourth there.
And Max Verstappen bids to take the lead and takes it. Max Verstappen gets himself through at the apex of the first of the 2 hairpins, and your race leader on lap 14 is now Max Verstappen from Harry Webb.
Now, if you're Harry Webb, do you settle for second because you know Max is not a championship rival, he's not doing the full season, or do you still have the hunger, the thirst to get the race win? And the next question is, even if you got the hunger and the thirst, can he hold on to Max? Can he keep up with him now that Max has got the lead? So Max leads with a little under 2 laps to go. Verstappen from Webb, Brandon third place. He's quicker than the pair of them at the moment. He's pulled 1.5 seconds almost on them while they were battling on that lap. So they did slow laps, 51.1 for Verstappen, a 51.6 for Webb, whereas Brand did a 50.2.
Almost certainly explainable by the passing.
Harry
comes back. And there's contact, but Harry goes through to regain the lead. This is lap 15 of 16, and Harry Webb, the pole sitter, is back in front. Little bit of contact between them, and Max Verstappen's got a lot of catch-up to do with only 1 lap in which to do it. That's the conclusion of lap 15. This is the start of the last lap. Can Max come back?
Great move. He was a long way back there, at least 2 kart lengths. Harry, with sheer determination, just flung it up the inside, left the brake into the last possible second. But we know from the very, very first race of the weekend, where it was just a heat, just a qualification race, that in this similar position, 2 or 3 kart lengths back, Max Verstappen still went for the race win. He didn't quite pull it off on that occasion, but even in the last corner, he was throwing it on the curbs up the inside to try and get through. He's running out of time now. Harry Webb brakes for the hairpin through the right-hander. He's nice and quick through there. He exits now. Verstappen closes up a little bit under braking on the way into the left-hand hairpin, but surely it's too far back here. Harry Webb has just got 2 more corners to go. A left and a right. Is he going to get his first senior victory? Heads for the line. Verstappen closes. Webb wins the race here in Italy. Second place to Verstappen by 2.5 tenths of a second. Ed Brand with a very good effort to come on the podium today in third. Nikki Tuhonen fourth. Great effort by him as well. Henkel Mortensen, 5th place. Strong result again for the Dane. 6th place. He'll be a bit disappointed, but he keeps picking the points up. Philip Moran, the Swedish driver. Piers Lehane in 7th place. Good solid weekend. He'd like more, but that's not a bad effort from Piers. Charlie Eastwood, 8th place in the final for the driver that leads the championship. Or led the championship, it might be, because with Harry Webb picking up 55 points for winning the race, and with Charlie Eastwood only 8th, it could well be that Harry has now moved into the championship lead. We'll have confirmation of that in a few minutes' time when it comes up on screen. And just to conclude the top 10, you've there got Baz Dilat running in 9th place in the race. Carol Dabsky was very quick in the wet yesterday, finishes 10th. And Kyle Fowley just outside the top 10. What a great race, what a determined drive. Let's hear now from our race winner. Harry Webb is speaking to Sarah.
Well, I'm here with Harry Webb. Congratulations, Harry. It looked pretty close on the penultimate lap. You went down to second and then you took first again. Congratulations.
Cheers. Yeah, it was a hard race. Obviously, Max sat there the whole time. We got a little bit of a gap and then he sort of pulled back to us. And then he overtook me into the hairpin. Obviously, he overtook me in that. And then I just came through on the last lap and just overtook him into 2 laps to go. And that was it.
Now you won the pre-final and now you take overall victory. Congratulations. How does that feel?
It feels great, obviously. Cheers.
Well, this is your first win this season, so an amazingly great race for you. Really well done.
Cheers, thank you.
Well done, Harry. Thanks very much to Sarah Dryhurst for grabbing the winners' interview. Max Verstappen was second, but one of the stars of that race was Ed Brand. Ed coming through from 21st on the grid in the pre-final, came through in that, and in the end he finished third, and he's on the podium and he's speaking to Sarah.
Ed, what a race for you. Started off 7th, went to 5th and then straight down to 3rd.
Yeah, you know, it had quite a good start. You know, unfortunately, I had a bit of a battle with the Formula K guy, which let the 2 front guys get away. As soon as I got past him, you know, it's just a bit of a, got my head down, I got a bit of a gap, and a bit of a lonely third, really. You know, there's no way, even though when those 2 started battling, I caught up, but they left it battling too late.
As you said, a lonely third. You were sat out there quite comfortably, just going around in 3rd position.
Yeah, you know, after the, like I say, after the start, those 2 got the gap. They were obviously working together to get away, and I had no one to work with. I couldn't catch. I wasn't quite fast enough to catch him, so I just, you know, settled for 3rd. It's better than nothing. Fantastic, really well done, Ed. Congratulations. Cheers.
Thanks very much, Sarah. Ed Brand with a really good drive, last year's Euro runner-up. This is how it's affected the points then, Ken. Harry Webb has indeed done enough with that victory, with Charlie Eastwood only 8th, to move into the championship lead. So he goes from 2nd to 1st. Harry with 168 points, just ahead, only 4 points ahead of Charlie Eastwood. Philip Moran started the weekend 5th in the championship. He moves up to 3rd place with 148 points. Nicholas Tehonen, the Finnish driver, has had a great weekend as well. He's just 1 point further back, 4th in the standings. And Ed Brand has moved right up the order with his good results this weekend. He was 11th in the standings coming into this weekend, but he's now moved up to 5th place with 135 points and tied with 124 points each for 6th and 7th. Martin Henkel, Mortensen and Baz Delart. And as I say, Carl Fowley has now gone from 17th in the championship up to 8th after a pretty solid weekend. So great action, and what we had this weekend, really, for the most part, Ken, is drivers that did well in Belgium not doing so well here, and drivers that didn't do so well in Belgium having a good weekend here. And what's it's done is completely tightened up the championship table at the halfway stage.
Really makes it an exciting prospect for when we go to the United Kingdom in a couple of months' time, doesn't it? Can I just pick up something that you were saying? Philip Moran, 3rd in the championship standings. Can't help feeling that Philip will go away a little bit dispirited after his dominance of yesterday, losing 2 places very late on in the pre-final, finding himself down in 6th place in the final, and yet just behind him, Nicholas Tehonen, who I hope that you and I have done justice to, has more or less crept unnoticed, if you will, up into 4th place in the championship.
Yeah, very good drive. And again, like we saw in the other categories, a real mixture of different nationalities represented there within the top 10 in this Rotax Euro Challenge. The second round of the championship has been a fantastic one here at Laghi. The circuit in Castelletto, northern Italy, has provided us with a great home. And for the most part, great weather, a very good backdrop. I think the drivers have enjoyed the circuit. The racing has been great. We then move on. We have a bit of a break now, but in July, on the 20th and 21st, Saturday and Sunday are going to be the race days. PF International Circuit will be our next round. At the start of September, we go to Salisbury. RGMMCmedia.com is